What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo. And by popular request, for all of the DMs that I got, all the comments that I got, all of my North American netizens out there, everybody was asking for one thing. Launders, this is what you guys all sound like. Launders, can you please watch the Grim Overpass demo? CT is amazing on LAN. Please watch it. Fine. Let's watch it. Before that, though, let's do a quick prediction. I'm going to tell you who's going to win IEM Cologne right here. In the quarterfinals, the winners will be Astralis and Gambit. The semifinal winner will be G2 over Astralis. On the other side of the bracket, Navi will beat Gambit. Let me talk about that more in a second. And the grand final winner will be Navi over G2. I really love every team here. Okay, in the playoff bracket, every single team here is looking good on LAN. Our next video is going to be about Nico, and the title will be The Best Players Are Even Better on LAN. And that's to talk about some of the amazing standout performances from players like Simple, from Nico, from Rops, Twists. Brokey was insane. And that was kind of a, more of a surprise how much some players got buffed to come and play on LAN, and they were just farming. And you could see Brokey's even faster, Brokey's even crispier, and Nico's even more confident. There is this, it feels like the skill disparity, it goes up a bit because you know what? It's a LAN, and it's clear that the pressure doesn't break teams completely. There's no audience, but going up on stage, under the AC, in your different chair, with different monitor settings and video settings and everything, it's taken teams and certain players down 5-10%, maybe adding a tiny bit more pressure. When Device does his squeal, then Liquid might lose the round. But apart from that, most teams stayed afloat. Some teams look even better. Astralis, namely. Virtus Pro was in a huge slump. They bummed out of the RMR. They're in playoffs of this huge event. FaZe Clan, Olaf Meister is probably a top 2 player on the team right now behind maybe Brokey, Twist, and I don't know. They're all so good at the moment. There's clearly a LAN buff. Simple is the best player that we've got at the whole event, and he has been absolutely farming. The #1 player to come out of groups as well. There have been some clear differences between the really good players, the really good teams, the teams that are prepared for LAN, and some surprises, but definitely it seems to have to do with LAN. Now, quickly about Gambit. I wish this was the final, right? Navi versus Gambit, the final that we've been getting every single weekend for the past 3 months, to finally happen on LAN. But as per usual in history, sometimes in LANs, the best match of the event can happen in the semifinals. That's just how it goes sometimes. It's really an odds game, by the way. It's not voodoo, okay? There are 2 semifinal matches and 1 grand finals match. All of these, the top 4 teams in the semifinals are insanely good, and 2 of them will be finalists, and 1 of these 4 will win the event. So the odds of getting the semifinal and that being better than the grand finals are very high. Obviously, also less variance, best of 3, whatever not. So, okay, why do I think Navi will beat Gambit? Because Gambit, someone in chat earlier brought up that Gambit look good, but still maybe 5% worse. And I think the argument is right in front of us. G2 beat them finally after a 4-series loss streak, never having beat G2, or never having beat Gambit before, only taking 1 map off Gambit in their entire time going head-to-head. And Gambit still looked great in the game versus G2. It was just that G2 were playing their best and looked very good. And Nexa talked about how everyone was trusting the calls and everything was flowing very well, and you could see it. They were themselves. I feel like when G2 are playing well, you see it on Inferno the most. When the calling is very sharp, you see it on Inferno. It stands out. The way they're reclaiming map control, their CT sides, all their aggression. They're very in the flow. And, of course, you can always count on certain players to hit their shots every time. And that's just, particularly Nico, Hunter, they were crispy as hell. So they beat Gambit by a narrow margin, and Nico had to clutch the last round to defend against OT. It could have been a different story, but even it coming that close shows that Okay, Gambit, maybe not quite as scary as they were online, but still absolutely fantastic. Still a favorite coming into play against FaZe, and still will be a huge threat versus Na'Vi, but we don't really have questions about Na'Vi right now. They look weak in certain parts of maps. Okay, I made the joke that if you watch UFC, we saw Moutinho play or fight against Sugar Sean and get punched in the face like 230 times in 15 minutes, and the entire time was just still coming after him. That was basically Astralis versus Na'Vi on Dust 2. Every round it felt like, no way he won that round. Magic 1v2, Glaive 1v3 in OT. It was actually like Na'Vi were playing COD Zombies trying to fight them off and then destroyed them on the third map. So I really think that, Na'Vi are the favorites to win the event. Simple's in his form, and the whole team behind Simple is looking great. So yes, that's my playoff bracket prediction baked into this video. No one else will know. If you clicked on this video to watch for Grim, you get the bonus of getting the playoff predictions, but it won't be in the title or anything. So okay, on to Grim. Why are we watching Grim? Well, everyone wanted to watch this game, and I went and looked it up, and I had a feeling Overpass was his best map. I in particular remember a map from, I think, the CS Summit. Yeah, 64 kills. This is the CS Summit RMR, I believe, which is pretty much why he got picked up for Liquid. When they lost to MIBR, Grim had a 1.51 rating, 64 kills, and 37 deaths. This was insane. Rest in peace to this beautiful team, by the way. I honestly wish they never broke up. I'm going to say it. Anyways, that was one of the standout performances for Grim. Probably the reason that he got picked up for Liquid. That map alone had all the pros tweeting about him. And comes through here, 1.50 rating versus NIP on LAN. A stellar performance, of course, for Liquid overall. It wasn't an incredible event, and they have lost now. They lost to Big. They did have one fantastic series versus Mouse Sports, and this is Grim's best map here, and everyone was very surprised to see him tearing it up. I didn't watch it, so I don't know what we're gonna witness. It's gonna be cool to watch this X-ray off, and I think he had a bad second half, but we're here to watch his 30 odd kills in the, what is it? It wouldn't be the T side then. Oh, it would be the CT side Overpass. I don't know which is the first one. So 20 and 9 here on CT side. And then he actually got 15 here. I think there was one OT in this one. So yeah, let's go ahead and check out the CT side and see how he did. It's a good map for him, and it's cool to see him performing on LAN. And again, there are some players who it's not that it feels like they got a LAN buff, plus they weren't on that short list of players with many years of LAN experience, plus majors, plus all this stuff, but they still were players who clearly got better on LAN, or the way that they peak, the way that they're taking fights, it's perfect for LAN. They're clearly confident. And there were some others where you could see it. There was a little bit of nervousness there, and it has an effect. And I don't want to hold it against anybody to be nervous whenever around the time the first LAN comes back, because actually, let me just talk about this real quick. On Overpass, just what we saw Grim do just here was take a peek towards A. Let me just run back this round for a sec, and I could just quickly go over this kind of, let's call it an opening tactic. Okay, you guys notice I've been playing a lot of chess, or watching a lot of chess. You have the 4 players going towards B, and the best spawn, whoever's standing out there on the tip of the stairs, to go out towards A to take a peek. And it's right at this moment here when you're on Overpass where you get a certain amount of information. Now, I believe the best T spawn can jump past into the playground before CTs, but if more Ts come out, then a CT will see them. And from here, you can also hear things. So the idea is if they rush Monster, you have 4 players B. So you kind of cancel out the idea of anyone wanting to play for a Monster for B, rush B on T side. And then for a second here, you can just make sure you have all the best spots possible here. And it's one of the only maps that you can kind of do this. So here, Grim spots one crossing, and then he falls back. And then we'll see the rotations probably where there's a few seconds between when that T could make it to A and when Grim has to be worried about him. And then that's when we'll see the rotations start to move over. But this in itself can be a kind of a mind game where the Ts are going to use this information against Grim. But Grim still has, unless this guy dot Sonics, Grim still has a few seconds before it's even possible for a T to be a problem for him. So now we're doing the infamous jump spot. Back in the day when days used to be IGL of I by Power, this was his #1 way to get information was jump spotting. He made this a really big thing, especially in NA and with all his teams. And for his money, even though you would put yourself at risk by jump spotting, in his perspective, and he was a very strong IGL, especially on the CT side, was that jump spotting was still the safest way to get the most information possible, and pretty much implemented it in most positions on most maps on the CT side. And here again, Grim kind of guarantees some information. And the idea for the T side and what works really well is to show a little bit of yourself. And you can see after one T showed himself a little bit at the top of A, Grim fell back all the way to site. Then Grim's jump spotting and another T shows himself outside bathrooms. Grim falls back to bank. So even if NIP want to go A or B, as long as they just showed presence on both of those parts, they have denied so much information. Now, let's say NIP wanted to go B. They never showed themselves at A at the beginning of the round. Grim would have never fallen back. He'd be a huge flank instantly. So that's the idea behind a default as well on T side, is sometimes all you have to do is show a little presence somewhere and you get all this value. Starts to change the rotations up. And now we actually have a weird situation. Not a huge fan of this situation if it is an A play where the CTs might have to try to retake the A site. And it looks like they're already overwhelming this position. Are they pushing through to B, though? Something weird is happening here, yeah. I feel like Bank is a threat. Yeah, oh my god. Okay, maybe it's not. Holy shit. All right, this is going to be a good one, I think. That is... Oh my gosh. He's just... Grimathy is just a LAN Andy, apparently. That was a sick 2K. Okay. So they were trying to push through CT, plus join in with the B play that was coming in. What was that music? Is that Phantom of the Opera? My god, what a nasty... I feel like I need 240 hertz to really appreciate what we just witnessed. That was some fast stuff there from Grim. And that was a round where actually I didn't like the Liquid setup, because when they became in the position where he was falled back all the way to bank and Elige fought by himself and they were going to be retaking A to begin with, like, that looked very, very scary. So they needed Grim to get basically all of those kills to win the round. But now we see that was a spawn-based thing. First of all, can we appreciate how sick this Howl looks? With like, where is the light source? Is there a garbage can on fire in the corner by headshot? This is what we need. This is what we need to be having in the game. This is what we need to have in the game. We need these bugs. It looks like there's ray tracing or something in CSGO. That's sick. Okay. Yeah, we got RTX on, exactly. But yeah, we can see Grim's anchoring B. Sometimes, and now we're rotating towards A. Let's see if Nafli needs any help or not. Yes, it looks like he does. Okay, he'll knock down the first. He's very low on HP. And at this point, you get a shadow advantage on the player who is peeking behind the dice. And so, but Grim, of course, is in danger of being pre-fired. So he's trying to use that advantage. He doesn't want to just hold angles every time. And they actually determined that Device is here, and they wanted to double swing on him, but no one hit the shot. Okay, Device is farming. Pretty much the only nemesis on the other side of the team for this game was Device. Kept up with Grim's 35 kills, hitting 32 of his own, and had an extraordinarily high rating. But yeah, it looks like the double peek was not orchestrated perfectly. And we'll get to see more RTX weapon skins as he anchors B and plays here at the barrels. This is so nasty. Look at this Deagle Blaze right here. That looks cool as hell. I'm mesmerized. All right. Let's stay focused. That pistol round already was pretty sharp. Let's see if any threats come towards long. So we've talked many, many times about Overpass and what defines Overpass as a map. I was recommended in my stream the other day to watch the 9Z demo, Tries demo, to understand what it means to play Overpass on CT side, what you're trying to do, why it's unique to other maps, where the value is. And one of the tenets of Overpass on CT side is that you cannot ignore the fact that you get all this free roam map control on the A site. You have to use it, and in the beginnings of the rounds, it is totally yours for the taking. The point at which you exchange glances all the way pushed up on the A site at the forward part of A is just leaves you so many options to be able to take shots, fall back safely, use different positions, have a number of setups. And even though the bomb plant zone is where you spawn on CT side and it's all the way back at the back of the map, that doesn't mean that you're supposed to just sit there. But over on the B site, the interesting thing is that Liquid have played Overpass. Old Cloud9 with Stewie played Overpass as a map they won versus FaZe the Major. Liquid have played Overpass, but then also NIP have played Overpass a ton, and so has Astralis, and it's been in their top maps for basically all four of those teams: Cloud9, Astralis, Liquid, and NIP. And Device coming on to NIP made their Overpass a whole lot stronger. And even for Grim playing on his last team, again, that was a strong map for them on Triumph, and he really loved it. So it feels like Overpass is actually becoming, one of the lesser played maps, especially in Pro, with a lot of teams avoiding it or just not coming up very often in the vetoes. But between these two, it's super strong. And for Liquid, during this period of time, 2019, and I guess before that, when they're specifically facing Astralis a lot, I guess the end of 2019 and beginning of 2019, they were playing against Astralis a lot, and they were losing to these B hits. Okay, this was the big thing. On CT side, Liquid would play in the B site, and they would constantly get exploded upon. And if you're a B anchor, you know that there's no high walls, there's no roof to protect you. If people have short control on the T side and they want to throw nades over and they want to approach your site, they can do it in innumerable ways. Okay, they've got an Etch-a-Sketch out on short B. They're taking their time figuring out how to flash you differently every single time. It's kind of a nightmare sometimes. And Astralis put together one of the cleanest, strongest B execs that they use versus Liquid for maps on end. I mean, Liquid just could never figure this out. They couldn't retake B, and they would always lose it with multiple players in the site. But what we see a lot of the time is, if possible, you're playing 3 inside the sites, using defensive grenades in the site, or you have this setup, all right? So with this setup, if you know it's going to be a B hit, then one of your most ideal setups is to have someone on the left side of Monster. It's kind of ironic we're seeing them dead, but we're still up numbers here. But Grim, left side Monster, dedicated. One guy on the wood wall here, ready to trade. And also this guy on the wood wall here to either help with Monster or help with short, depending on what happens. And then one guy who's sitting behind the barrels, who's taking another angle on short behind the pillar. And these 3 players are here exactly like this. So you've got there's a lot of cohesion between the 3 players here fighting, and you get early information, right? So if you have a player on the left side of Monster, super dedicated, he gets 1 kill, but then he takes a peek in the tunnels, he can see how many players are left. Then the wood wall guy has info. He'll have an shadow advantage on the next guy coming out Monster, or he can turn around and look for the players coming up short, and then the guy on the pillar, who's Nafly, can take contact there or peek into Monster, and that's the best way to defend against both of these choke points if you know they want to hit B or if they're going to come. And one of the best ways to counter full-on execs, and this goes for any single map, is to actually, it's like counterintuitive, but you play close to the choke points. A good example would be like Mirage. One of the best ways to counter an A exec on Mirage is to have a close A ramp setup. And the reason is because a lot of the nades that come over into sites are designed to blind the back of the site or the middle of the site, or you want to molly out a position, but you can't molly out a ramp because you need to go through it. So when you're throwing your exec, a lot of the nades go way past the point, the choke point that they're trying to exit, and it can actually be the best course of action to defend right in that choke point if possible. Now you have things on Overpass like the nose flash that are designed to flash people up close, but you don't always have to be peeking into these nades as well and still be able to play close positions like we saw Grim doing last round. But yes, just because you see an exec doesn't mean you need to play farther back. Sometimes it actually means it's better to play closer. And I think one of the biggest things people will learn as they get better and more confident is that just because the time goes down on the clock doesn't mean you're making a better and better play on CT side. Good T players are not going to time out by themselves, right? And playing aggressively might just be the best course of action. Even if you die sooner, it doesn't mean it's a worse play. Because just because you die later and come closer to the clock running out, unless it actually does, it's completely meaningless. Oh, that's a cool little flash. So yes, I think what's really important is to not think about some of these setups as aggressive or defensive, and think about them as better or worse, or correct or incorrect. And it's always circumstantial, always situational. I think that's a big thing. All right, so we're here losing, defending against a B exec. Let's skip on through. Stairs setup. Stairs is also another very important part of the map. That we'll see if it gets played, sometimes spawn-based as well. And as the game gets more years in it and people get better at each map, some maps are getting played more and more spawn-based, even on the CT side. Just because people are learning how to play multiple positions on a map. If you can play the spawns, you have a huge advantage. Like on Dust 2, if you just play spawns on CT side, you've got a big advantage. And if you have a player who knows how to play B and long, which honestly, it's not that hard, then you're going to be able to win a lot more rounds. If you're going to have, multiple players be able to take a long spawn every single time. And this was something that happened in the old versions of Counter-Strike, but near the end of 1.6, things became very spawn-based as people got better and better, because that became the most objective advantage that you could have, was just taking the best spawn possible when everybody knew what the strategies were going to be. There wasn't as much innovation anymore. Advantages like spawns actually became some of the biggest ones. So I think we see that on other maps as well, and over time, things I think will lean in that direction. As long as there are more and more years on these maps where people are playing them. But Overpass is a nice big map with lots of options, and it's still somewhat unexplored. I think in Counter-Strike, there's no map that's really, really underexplored except for Ancient, but I think it's still one of the lesser played maps overall, and probably one that still has room for innovation where people can find it, comparatively speaking. So let's go back to B and see what happens now with Grim. And basically every single round's protocols has been make sure they don't do a explode out monster. Let's throw down the incendiary, not even deep in the tunnel. Let's throw it down out here. Yeah, okay. That's I mean, I think he got at least one dink and then the double HE nade, so that's nice from Grim. And they get the info. This smoke right here is really important, okay? So this is a very important CT smoke, and if you're playing B, don't always waste your smoke on monster. If you throw this smoke, it connects the pillar to headshot, and it denies, it funnels everybody to the left side of the pillar. All the T's coming up into the site, they have to come in through the left side of the pillar. So we can see Stewie waiting and watching to see them coming up the left side of the pillar. And this helps for the player, Nafly on our screen too, who's back pit. And he can watch players come up the left side of the pillar if he wants to stand back. Here, sometimes people will flash through the smoke if it gets really desperate, or if they're not getting that opening kill fast enough. But you can see Stewie is now extinguishing the molly on headshot. And sometimes people will jump up into headshot and run and try to shoot Stewie in the side of the head. I don't know if they'll try that here, but it is 3 to 4, so that's when things get a bit more racy. People take more risks. But in this situation, the idea is just limit the amount of, just make it another choke point, right? One of the things is about fighting T's in the choke point is that you can get so much damage at once. You get one spray, you hit the guy in the back, you hit the guy behind him. But once they get out of that choke point, and then they spread the site like cockroaches, suddenly you've got to be flicking around to get the kills. If you can kill the T's in the choke point, sometimes that's much better, even if you have to face 2 or 3 people. So the same idea here. You're denying them from being able to get all around the site and fight up into heaven and fight the right side of the pit. And it allows all the CTs to focus more in and make it more of a cone fire as opposed to having to kind of fight everything. It also opens up that angle right there where you can have someone in pit watching short. That wouldn't be possible if this smoke wasn't here. And there it is, the push that comes through. When things get desperate, people will always jump up onto the barrels and push through. And again, they were low numbers, so I'm sure Liquid was aware of it. But there'll be no shortage of that kind of push because smokes are not walls. That's the other thing. Sometimes, no way that happened again. Okay, Elijah will find the last one, but that's the other thing. That the smokes, it does block vision, but it doesn't block bullets. It doesn't block nades. It doesn't block players. You can... it really is just ray traced out here. You really can use smokes against a CT, especially if they're expecting respect. In some situations, obviously, sometimes you look like a fool if you run through a smoke and they were waiting and watching you. But it's all circumstantial. Smokes are not walls. Stewie proved that a long time ago. So here we have the double push out, the escort service to take over short B control. And the reason you want to get short B control is you open up the stairs rotation for the CT side. And with the stairs rotation, you have a good retake position for the A or B site. You also can hear a lot of stuff. You also kill them if they come 2 stairs to try to rotate. And if they don't, and you know they're A side of the map, then it takes them 15 seconds to get around to B. Okay, so if you're in the stairs, even if they don't come there, you know, your guy on B can say, all right, one died on the A setup. Let me rotate to A. If we don't hear anything for 15 seconds and no one comes stairs, maybe we don't think it's A, we can just go gamble stack B and we have a good rotation either way. So stairs very important on both sides. It's not to be used every round. It depends if you take short control, if you take short and stairs control, if you have like a multi-stairs setup, but once you have to have an escape plan, I think is the big thing for stairs because, and in this spot it's 2v5, so all bets are off. You're going to take risks, but if you are in, you send one CT to stairs on the A site, for example, he runs to stairs and goes down. That guy can sit there, but if no one pushes short B, then the T's could be waiting for him when he opens the door. And if no one pushes A and takes fountain control or whatever top A control, then if my man in stairs wants to rotate out to A, he'll just die. So the important part is to have pressure on one side of the map or the other to combine with stairs control so that your teammate can escape somehow. That's very big. And there's that flanks to get some information, but wow, the eco, it's just lightning quick. Everyone dies. Almost up on the half. Oh my god. What? I honestly did not notice. LNZ got blasted. LNZ, one of the best Eagle players to come up, honestly. That was a nasty shot. I wonder if sometimes shots are pre-fires. Sometimes they're good reactions. That was just a sick clear. I mean, I can imagine Grim sitting there drenched in G Fuel with his gunners on. The yellowest gunners of all time. Offline on a server on Overpass, coming through the short tunnels, practicing this pre-fire specifically for this moment. I could see Grim doing it. Yeah, he had the mental image. He was in the flow state. Okay, 2v2 with one player in CT and one on the flank. So guy in CT is just, you know, try not to die. And Grim will try to make some kind of rotation. And, you know, this is a spot where T's, you know, can be watching the flank. But there, it's open. This is why it's so nice to get stairs control. It speeds things up. It compromises tons of spots. And the other thing is about having a position like stairs is you have to think if the bomb goes down, where are the T's going to go? This, where Grim is right now, this is the best post plan position possible. So when you have some kind of big flank and you have like stairs, for example, the best post plan positions are not even that good anymore. But if 2 players came out of CT spawn with deagles and there's an opper in bathrooms, I mean, really, what is your counterplay? You're probably going to lose the round. So he takes the risk of exiting stairs on the big flank, but as soon as it's not spotted, the odds shift. Okay, if there was a stockfish for CSGO, the odds would shift so much in the favor of the CTs, even if they only have deagles. As soon as Grim turns the corner to come and fight bathrooms, you never want to be the one in the crossfire, so it's important to try to make that happen on the CT side. All right. And now this is actually a tricky position, okay? Because Plopsky knows where Grim was, and Plopsky has a feeling of where Nathline might be. So I don't even know if he has info. They have to see how he's going to try to isolate these fights. And technically right now, these two can't help each other. So let's see how they play it. This is a spot where communication is so important. Front dice clean, Optimus clean. Don't see him. Maybe long. They clear things out. Could have pushed CT. Tapping it. We see one. Confirms CT. He can stick. I'm trusting you to take this kill. All this stuff is communicated. And then Nathli get the kill, and then you win the round. But these are the moments where you do have to talk to each other, and the little things that you say can be huge. The only thing is that your dead teammates can help you as well. What angles are clear? Oh, can't be here, can't be here. So one of your dead teammates could spectate both players and say, all right, like I can see on Nathli's screen he didn't comment, but back of Optimus is clean. And then Grim can stop looking there. These little things, you try to keep it as efficient as possible, but communication is everything in these spots. You want to find a nice balance where you're talking, but not too much, and you can still focus on hitting your shot. Because once that guy appears on your screen, if you're just in the mindset of I need to give people information, you're just going to die, and then that guy's in a 1v1. You still got to be ready to get the kill. But in this game, listen, you've got to be able to sing and dance. And you can't play with a player who's a mute. I mean, bottom line, some people calm less, but there are certain spots where people need to know how to say things and be able to focus at the same time. And that's a skill. Not everyone has it, but it is going to win or lose you big games. It will, 100%. And that's the stuff that we never get to see from the outside, but you always hear from teammates of players. Okay, so the flash came behind Grim just so he could check on Monster. Oh, and he almost gets punished on the cross. Regretting that timing, but there's not much he can do about that. I would love to see this turn into another B hit. Oh, wow. Grim switching up to letting Stewie go over into the corner. And they're going to do a gimmicky kind of bait setup here where Stewie's gliding up on the wall and somebody else will take first contact. And I think they're just going to hope to hell it's not short B, a focus on short B here. Let's see what happens. Grim's here to flash long. They're still jump spotting it, so I think they're waiting for a moment. They see something. And now they know the exec is coming up. Grim on the wall would be not bad here with 10 HP. And you get a shadow advantage, you see. Oh, so much damage off that second kill as well. And this planner should die in seconds, yeah, after Grim's damage. So nicely done. When you have low HP, when you're watching players play, pay attention to where they move to when they're low HP. Some spots that are one and done are, and you don't want to be in a one and done spot, are a little bit better when you only have 10 HP. Because if you get one and done just means you have a big advantage to get one kill, but you're pretty fucked when it comes to the second guy. The second guy swinging on you, he's most likely going to take you out because you don't have a place to fall back to. It's a hard right angle, whatever it is. But pay attention to what people do on low HP, where they like to go, because you're looking for the most advantageous situation to just get one kill. Because at 10 HP, you can't expect to play a 50-50 and get two, no matter how good you are. Everyone's got good aim at this level. That's not what you do. So you'll see certain situations are not going to apply to every situation, or certain spots that players move to are not going to be the same in every circumstance. Well, that's a nasty spray. It would be curious to see what they're trying to do in this spot. Grimsmoke's the back of Monster. I guess, yeah, they just no numbers here for NIP, so they're just trying whatever. I'd like to see this turn into more of a monster rush again. Grim cost is fast, and these spams, we saw what had happened to Grim last round. Guys, remember, at the beginning of the round, people know you're in the B site, okay? Don't live your life in fear. If you want to go for a spam, do it. Your ammo, you're going to get it all back next round, I promise, okay? Sometimes it's good to try to get some damage in through spams. And oh, wow. Grim having a round for himself. And that smoke is still fresh. He can focus forward. Oh, no! Holy shit. What the hell was that? Holy... Wow, he kept track. Okay, he knew someone was still outside Monster, but damn. Yeah, he's having a day. And And you could see, even outside Monster, right in front of the Monster, it's not a bad position to fight players coming out of the site from short as well. So it's a strong spot to be in. Sometimes you get spam, sometimes you're the first to die, but it can be good. And there are some protocols like what Grim's doing. He's using a very expensive piece of utility, you know, an incendiary, every single round. But it's for a good purpose. Like the way that you could look at the game is Liquid might say, okay, listen, this is our one weakest thing, or this is the one thing we're really afraid of. These guys have a great fast Monster exec. We molly out Monster every single time, or until they do it once. And until that happens, keep it going. Because if they do it and we win the round, we deny it. You know what I mean? And if the B player doesn't have any other reason to use their nades, just get it over with. And we see actually Grim floating into position so many times. A lot of the time we've noticed actually he's almost never taken the fight just from out here. It's almost always he's looking for a timing and then getting right in front of the exec or spamming the smoke or whatever it is, because he doesn't want that nose flash to come through. Players come turned around through the smoke and then they explode on him and they're on both sides of the tunnel. That actually can be a problem too. And so sometimes it is really important to try to look for that duel as soon as it comes through. And here it is, the last kill of the half. Grimathy with a huge performance. 35 on the map, super sharp. That pistol round, that second last round, you could see he was absolutely feeling it. 20 and 9 again, 105 ADR and a 1.62 rating. Fantastic overall for Liquid. It wasn't the strongest run, of course. This was a struggle series, and they end up losing to NiP. This was awesome to watch. The Mouse Sports game. This was very close. I think they struggled a lot versus Big, but Big were also pretty impressive this event. So I don't want to say Liquid were too bad or anything, but of course this is the 2019 Grand Slam major champion. Stewie, highest paid player outside of Astros, Liege, best any player of all time, fallen, you know, most revered player in Brazilian Counter-Strike history. Grim, you know what I mean? Like there's expectations here. There's expectations here. So when we have Liquid not making the playoffs, even if it's a big event, people are going to come down on them hard. We're also leaning on them quite heavily to be the best NA team, really, and to set the bar as much as possible. But I actually still personally have faith. I think they actually were pretty good. Maybe they have to iron some stuff out. Adren has just come back to be the coach again of Team Liquid post Moses, and they clearly have some urge to try to recreate the magic that was their 2019 Grand Slam run by bringing in the coach of the time. And now that they're back to LAN, it's a shame that, you know, we didn't get to see Moses and his beautiful bald head at a LAN, but we see him on the desk now. Okay, he's got the better lighting there anyway, so whatever. I saw some good stuff on the Mouse Sports game. In the big game, it didn't look quite as sharp, so I think they still got some work to do, but it's fresh. It's everyone's first LAN. Go easy on your favorite teams. I think it's the kind of time where, you know, we want to celebrate the fact that the skill disparity is so high when it comes to LAN, and that's beautiful. That makes Counter-Strike palatable again. That online, things were getting to the point where players were so good. Everyone was so good. It was the smallest advantages. Now we come to LAN, and we're on the way to set the record for the most aces at a single event. Coincidentally, right when we get back to LAN, with certain players having unbelievable stats and certain players not. You know what I'm saying? So it has had an impact, and this is clearly the way that CS was meant to be played. And it is onward and upward from here for CS for what we might expect from the next thing. I didn't expect the difference to be this big. It's not huge, but still, I didn't expect there to be almost any with there no crowd or anything like that. So who knows what happens then. I didn't realize how much we needed LAN, but goddamn am I happy we got it. This has been fantastic so far, and there's going to be more LAN coverage coming up for the rest of the event. So hope you enjoy playoffs and have a great week. There'll be Nico next and one more player, I think, before the playoffs start. But if you have a player you want me to watch, maybe Olaf, Cat, that's another big one, let me know in the comments. Cheers, everybody.